Welcome, everybody, to a special episode. I have one of my favorite people on today, Grace Hayhurst. Hello, Grace. That's you.
Hello.
Um, this isn't her first appearance on our channel. She helped me out, put all of Opeth's albums through the tier list way back in the day.
Yes, a
And
couple of years ago we went
we,
through the live stream.
yeah. And we also share a podcast, The Metalhead, which is a very chill, very good vibes chat about metal music that's very slowly just becoming progressive metal music because that's what we both love.
Yeah, it's
So,
getting there. It's not far off. The Progressive Metalhead podcast. Who knows?
yeah, it's a good time. So I've left those. I think you can find the video here, and you can find the podcast down there. Um, and because it's in both of our wheelhouses, we're going to talk about Haken, because I saw them on Thursday or Friday, this past Friday in Toronto, and you saw them in Berlin.
Yeah, I saw them on the European tour. So they've just basically done this massive European tour, had a couple weeks off, and then gone straight for the North American tour. So they're really going for it. There's no chill. They are touring at the moment. So yeah, do a little compare and contrast between the continents. See who got the better
Yeah,
show.
see what's different, see what's the same, and we've both seen them a number of times. I think I counted about six or seven for me. I saw them when they first came over to North America for the Restoration Tour. Um, and then I saw them double headline with Leprous. I saw them on the Affinity Tour. Um, I saw them open up for Devin Townsend a couple times. I saw them do another double headline with Between the Buried and Me. So I gotta be up to about six or seven at this point.
No, I mean I caught wind of the band back on the Affinity round of albums. There were lots of people chatting about it on the prog metal subreddit, which is where I got a lot of my recommendations back in the day. And I was like, oh, this Affinity album, that sounds cool. Oh, this Haken band, they're playing a venue in London like in a week's time. Yeah, all right, let's see what happens. Pretty fun. Had a great time. Crystallized as the encore almost 7 years ago now, 8 years ago. So little bit of time since then. But yeah, I've seen them. Yeah, seen them doing all sorts. Seen them support Devin Townsend. I've seen them with other bands like The Algorithm and Next to None supporting them. I saw them at a festival headlining last year. Whoop. I saw them at a festival headlining last year, which was very cool. And I'm seeing them again at a festival in a couple months' time. They're doing a special mountain-themed anniversary set. So we'll see what that's about when that one happens.
That'd be really cool. Yeah, the first show that they did here is still one of my all-time favorite concerts because yeah, Next to None opened up for them, and it was just such a weird shock to see Mike Portnoy just step out onto the stage and be like, "Hey, this is my son's band. Be kind to them." I was like, "Wow, okay." And it was like at this scuzzy bar that maybe fit 30 people before it became a real death trap. So yeah, and then the encore was Visions, and they played Crystallized, so it was like, ah, so good. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember them doing that as well, like having the double visions crystallized in the same set. It was a long concert. I mean, it was great. I was having a
That's
whale
it.
of a time, but wow,
Yeah.
it went on in a good way.
In a good way. But we're as much fun as it is reminiscing about the past. We're talking about the concert that we just had. Doing a little bit contrasting, between the UK and the European tour and the North American tour. So yeah, I think it would be kind of fun because we had just a slightly different set list. Well, actually,
Yes.
before we go into the set list, let's talk about the opening acts. Because you had two opening acts and I only had one.
I did, yeah. We had Cryptodira, and it was a co-headline tour with Between the Buried and Me. So you had slightly shorter sets from both headlining bands, and yeah,
Yeah.
Cryptodira opening, who were great. Like no complaints, good fun. Should have picked up an album, I didn't. That's on me. Between the Buried and Me, obviously, like kind of need no introduction. Everyone knows who they are. at least in this little niche where we're sat in. And yeah, they did a killer job of like, you know, I mean, I know they've both, Haken and Between the Buried and Me, have toured quite a lot before together, over in the States, over in Europe. And there's that project as well that I think Dan Briggs and Peter Jones and Richard Henshaw do. I think it's Nova Collective.
Oh, yes, that's
what it's called.
right. Yeah.
So there's
is it
another
Nova
link there between it all.
Yeah, that's not the one with Slice the Cake in it, is it?
No,
like...
that's Nirvana.
No. Okay, Nirvana. Right. Yes, but I know what you're talking about. All these artists just like interfile and intermix, and they it's basically just one band that's all in the prog sphere that take on different facets at this point. And I had Arch Echo open up, and I had never listened to Arch Echo. They had a good 40-minute set, and I fell in love. Like, I had never seen a band look so excited to be on stage than these guys.
I mean, I love that for them.
They were like nothing but smiles the entire time. Like, they looked so ecstatic. And the music was incredible. Like I said, I had never seen these guys before. And immediately I went down to the merch table and I almost bought the records, but they were a little spicy in terms of the price. It was like $50 Canadian. And I'm on a little bit of I call it a financial diet, because I didn't even, like, I grazed really quickly at the merch table over on Haken, but I have like maybe four t-shirts from Haken at this point. I'm like, I really don't need any more. Even though I want to support the band, you know, when it's $40 a pop for a t-shirt, I got to be a little bit choosy. Yeah.
I'm not sure how many Haken t-shirts I have. There's definitely a few. I've got the Affinity one. I think I've got a Vector one, and maybe another one that I'm not remembering. But I did pick up some merch this time around. I did get one of the t-shirts, and this one isn't available on the US tour, this design.
I know. I'm very jealous of that.
Funky 80s monkey, I love it. This is another Dan Goldsworthy design, who's the guy that did all of the album artwork. It's super cool. I try now with band t-shirts and stuff to like get the design that's like a good design rather than just like get a t-shirt for the sake of it. So, because I've got like, I did a count at one point and it was in like the 60s or the 70s of just like black t-shirt with band logo on it, and I'm just like, I have enough of these now. I have enough. I'm not got anything more to prove. I have supported music. I can calm down now and just get ones that are like really eye catching. Yeah. And this was one of them. It was very cool.
Yeah, that's choice. Very like Miami Vice with the 1985 logo on that.
Yeah, because there's little like nods to Affinity, particularly on the back. You've got the little
the little lines through that
blue there. Yeah.
It's great.
It's great.
Yeah, so let's talk about the set lists. There is some overlap. I mean, obviously both were promoting the latest album, so you know, both of them have just doing a quick look, like both of them have Taurus and Love Bite. But you also have Alphabet of Me. I'm just looking at the set list because I very rarely go back and look at the set lists. So looks like you have a little bit of smattering on there. How did you feel about the set list themselves?
I thought it was a good mix for a co-headlining set where you've only got a certain amount of time. I thought they kind of covered all the bases basically. Obviously they didn't make it out on the Virus tour back in 2020. That kind of never really happened, so they kind of had to bring out Messiah Complex, right? Like, give it the rounds. Not my favourite Haken epic. I'm not a huge Virus stan. But, you know, live, I definitely appreciate those songs a lot more than I did, like, just listening to them at home. Whereas I feel like with Fauna, it's almost the other way around, where I appreciate the album versions more than the live versions. I mean, even though the live versions are great, I'm just like, picking out all these little sort of sonic intricacies with Pete Jones back in the keyboard seat. But yeah, obviously my show as well, something I forgot about is it happened before the album came out. So those songs on there, those songs on there are just the singles that were released
That's true.
before.
Yeah,
So
I'm surprised that Nightingale wasn't on there. You know,
which one?
Nightingale, because that was kind of like the big single from the album up to that point. Like I think they had just dropped Love Bite and Taurus, but they didn't do Nightingale. I mean, they didn't do Nightingale for mine either, that was the only one I was shocked wasn't on this. Well, there was a couple other ones that I was shocked wasn't being played, but that was like the one that I was like, you didn't play Nightingale. That's very interesting.
Yeah. They also missed off on my specific show, Carousel, which was part of the rest of the tour dates. I think the reason for that was like late setup, early curfew with the venue, so they kind of had to cut something from the set, which is kind of a shame. But no Nightingale. They did. I have seen them play that live. They did do it at the Radar Festival last year in their headline set. It slapped. Very fun live. I feel like that would be a good opening song, honestly, with the like, hey, here's Pete Jones, here's like the song he wrote, his introduction back into the band, here's Nightingale, boom.
Yeah.
But nope.
Yeah, it went into prosthetic, which I understand. Again, we didn't get to see them do the Virus tour, so interesting opener on that sense. It almost seems as though your set was a kind of like a not a butting of heads, but like a mishmash between the Virus set list that they would have toured with and the new album itself, because it kind of seems like that's where most of these tracks are coming from outside of the Endless Knot and Falling Back to Earth.
Yeah. So they put a couple of older ones in there. Very happy to have Falling Back to Earth, one of my favorites. And yeah, the Endless Knot's always a fun one live to mosh to. But yeah, no, it's a tight one. You know, we've only got one big epic. You know, we've not even got any of the like the sort of medium epics like The Point of No Return or 1985 or anything. It's just kind of Messiah Complex. I guess Falling Back to Earth is kind of a medium epic.
Yeah, I would say so.
But then you've got the kind of some of the singles. But it was cool to see some stuff brought out. It's cool to see the Virus stuff. And yeah, it was a super fun show. The energy was great. The crowd was just all over the place. They were mopping the setup. You know, at this point they'd had Cryptodira, they'd had Between the Buried and Me, and then they were slap bang with some Haken, first time in years, and everyone was having a great time.
Yeah, it sounds like a really good set list. The set list on my side was very interesting. Now, are you the kind of person that looks up the set list beforehand, or do you like to be surprised when you're at the concert?
I think it really depends on the band. Like, if I know a band really, really well, if I have all of their albums and I've listened to them, then I'll kind of just be like, nah, I'll wing it. I'm not going to worry about it. If it's a band I don't know that well, usually I'll look it up beforehand and see, right, okay, they're playing 4 songs from this album and 3 songs from this album. I'm going to listen to those. I'm not going to take particular note of which songs they were specifically, but I'll look at the albums spread and be like, right, okay, I'm going to drum these albums into my brain a couple weeks before the show and just kind of like get my head around some of the material, some of the bulk of the material, because I like to be a little bit surprised, but also like going to a show and not knowing any of the songs, I can find my attention span just sort of drifting off and just kind of being like not paying attention. Do you keep it secret? Are you a spoiler free?
I am a spoiler free. I like to keep it secret. So I always go in blind. And I was beyond surprised. This would probably be the second best show that I've seen from them. The first one being the first time I saw them, as we had mentioned before. But I think after Falling Back to Earth, because they started off with Taurus, great track to start it off with. Going into In Memoriam, which is one of my favorite tracks from the mountain. Then my favorite track from the new record of Sempiternal Beings, I think is how you pronounce it. Semi-kind of life. And then they played Finally Back to Earth, and at that point I'm like, they're really playing some choice ones. And Ross came out and said, okay, we know you guys like the epics, we know you like the big ones, so we're pulling them all out tonight. And they started into The Architect, and I nearly lost it because I had never heard them play The Architect live at that point.
Oh wow, okay,
yeah. And I was shocked that they didn't play The Architect live when I saw them double headline with Leprous, because Ennard I believe Ennard sings on that one.
He does the little harsh vocal bit in the middle, right?
Yeah, so I was shocked that he didn't come out and they didn't do that, because I mean he's right there, right? So anyway, they pulled it out here. The setlist.fm says that it was abridged. I couldn't tell you where it was abridged. It sounded like the whole track to me.
Fake fan.
Yeah. Yeah, then they went into Love by Atlas Stoned, Elephants Never Forget, and then before they went on to their encore, they did Celestial Elixir, which I wept. It's still one of my favorite, if not my favorite, Haken song, and they did a brilliant time with it. And then the Messiah Complex was the encore, and I agree that it might not be their best epic, but there's that section in section 4, or maybe it's section 5. That big breakdown, that big boom. It got me. I was loving it. So like, in terms of the set list, this might have been my favorite set list I heard them, outside of maybe the first time I saw them. I'm glad that I got to see the set list that I did. No shade on your set list. It's just, if I saw the two songs, like the two set list songs, I'm like, okay, I'm glad I saw this one.
I'm not gonna lie, a little bit of jealousy peeking through. I really love Elephants Never Forget. For those not aware, that was a very Charlie Griffiths composition, that particular song. And I really loved his solo album Tiktaalica when that came out. And this is another just like, it's not Tiktaalica, because Tiktaalica was all kind of trying to be a homage to thrash, whereas this is like a homage to just weird, like, they've always, Haken as a band, been famously influenced by Gentle Giant, and this is one of those tracks where you're like, oh yeah, there it is.
They didn't even change the answers on the Scantron sheet. It's all right there.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward. I hope I get to see that live. I'm expecting them to come back and do a headline tour at some point with some of those tracks brought back from the Fauna album that they weren't able to do. Hopefully. But we shall see. Like I said, the next time I'm seeing them is at Radar Festival, and they're doing a mountain-themed set. So it's not going to be very fauna-focused. So who knows? But I'd love to see that track live. That would be a great one.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun, and they did it very well. I wanted to talk about some of the tracks that they didn't play, and tracks that I was shocked they didn't play, but I'm fine with. We were talking about the controversy of not having the Cockroach King on there.
I know some people that are mad, seething.
No, I'm fine. I've heard the Cockroach King played live almost every set, so at this point I'm
bloody set.
I'm
years.
Good. Not
years.
Like if I don't hear it again, that's fine. Like, I've heard it so many times, I'm good not hearing it again. Same with 1985. I think I like 1985 a little bit more than the Cockroach King. I know that might be a spicy take, but and that's another one that they always play, but I'm fine with missing.
I mean, I feel like the absence of Cockroach King is like filled by Messiah Complex, because it builds on all the themes and everything of it, and there's so many little licks and references to the Cockroach King, and it when you're dealing with a small set list, especially with the co-headline set of the Europe tour, squeezing both in is it's a bit repetitive, and they have played it a lot over the years.
The only thing that I could see is if they played Cockroach King and then went straight into Messiah Complex, but like almost have it as one complete song.
Well, there was originally they were gonna do that kind of thing. They were gonna do all of Vector and all of Virus. That was the original London headline show that was planned for 2020, 2021, when they were gonna literally play through all of Vector, play through all of Virus, all in one big gigantic album show. But they haven't done that, so I don't know if we'll ever see that or not, but that would be peak lore, peak Roach, if you will.
I know this might be a spicy take, but like what I would have done if I were mastering all of this is I would have almost taken Love Bite off, because I'm not a huge fan of Love Bite. For me it's one of the weaker tracks off of Fauna. And I would have switched Atlas Stone for Pareidolia from the Mountain, because I friggin' love Pareidolia from the Mountain, and they don't play it quite as often as I was hoping. But yeah, if they had taken that off and maybe put in like the puzzle box just to have something from Vector on there, because that would have filled up the time, because they didn't play anything from Vector, which I was kind of saddened for.
Well, but hey, there's nothing from Visions there though either, right?
Yeah, no, there wasn't anything from Visions.
Visions, nothing from Restoration, nothing from Enter the Fifth Dimension. Come on, what are these guys doing? What's going on here?
Yeah, come on, the fan favorite Enter the Fifth Dimension.
Yeah,
come on.
Nothing from Scenes from a Memory.
Oh boy. So yeah, anything on here? Like what was your favorite moment? Just to kind of wrap this up, I think we can do our favorite moments.
Ooh, my favourite. I mean, I always loved the dubstep drop in the Endless Knot. I'm a bit over it now, I think. I think I've heard it enough times, but the first time that hit live, I was just like, oh, very tasty. And it's still that moment that I'm just like, oh yeah, you're really pushing the genre boundaries on the Affinity album by just like, yeah, let's have a dubstep drop in the middle of this track, and then go to like a guitar solo, and then like a super spaced out section. So yeah, I think I always love the Endless Knot as a track, just for how just all over the place it is. So I think that was probably my highlight. Even though I've seen it a few times before, it's like, yeah, very delicious, very tasty.
Yeah. This is something that I will go to my grave saying I'm shocked and surprised that progressive metal didn't embrace dubstep in like, the 2015s, 2016s, when it was like really at its height. Because it blends so perfectly into progressive metal and where progressive metal was headed at that time anyway. I mean, we had already mentioned Next to None. They had used it a bunch of times. But I think instead we went a little bit more on the djenty side as a musical genre. So I at least appreciate before Haken really went into the djent side of things with Vector Virus, they were being like, hey, let's play with this before, hyperpop comes and takes it away from us.
Yeah. Bring back dubstep.
Bring back dubstep.
Dubstep. Yeah. So we'll make it.
Yeah, I think for me, my favorite part was them announcing that they were going to do Celestial Elixir. That just blew me away. But yeah, it's that big epic part from Messiah Complex where, they build it up and they have that. Yeah, even though like for me the whole track builds to that, and it just watching, because I was up in the me, I'm not a big fan of being on the floor in the mosh. I like to be up away from it watching.
Yeah, and I like to not be able to feel any limbs in my body because they're so bruised.
Mm-hmm.
That's me. Just starting all the fights.
Yeah, watching the crowd just go insane. Also, this is a little bit of a side. There was a moment during Haken's set, I think on it was pretty early on in their set list. I want to say during Sempiternal Beings. Of course, it had to be that one, the one that I can't. No, either that or Falling Back to Earth, where I think somebody in the front row almost passed out and they had to call security.
Wow, that good, eh?
Yeah, it wasn't dire because like people were alerted. They brought over it, and it didn't seem like a massive emergency, but they took them over the divide. Probably it was a little bit of dehydration. I'm guessing, because they didn't call anybody in, they didn't rush anybody out, but it was very clear that they needed to get this person out of the crowd and off to the side. So yeah, it was just a little aside. I was just like, oh, I hope everybody's okay. So
Yeah,
if you're that person,
good
I
on
hope
the
you're
venue
fine.
for yeah,
Yeah.
good on the venue for sorting it out, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to cover. Was there anything else you wanted to cover on this little episode?
I believe that is everything.
Amazing.
That's all there is to it. Go and see Haken. They're still on tour. If you're in the States,
Yeah.
they're coming. They're coming for you.
They're coming
Don't
for
miss
you.
it.
So thank you, Grace, for coming on the channel. Love having you on. Love having our conversations. This is, if you've liked this and you want to hear more, go check out our podcast, The Metalhead. It's a great time. We talk about metal music and are slowly turning it into a progressive metal podcast. Yeah, and I think that's about it. So thanks everybody for watching. Thank you, Grace, for jumping on and chatting us up. Yeah, until next time, Notes and Grace are out.